Vaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Nunam Bhateshasya Samhitam Janais Tanmayaya Durjayaya Kritatsmabi Na Lakshyate Yastvakarod Akarayad Yoneka Eka Paratascha Ishvaraha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Sila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. And Mother Earth, I think it is that is speaking. My dear Lord, although you are one, by your inconceivable potencies, you have expanded yourself in many forms. Through the agency of Brahma, you have created this universe. You are therefore directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those who are not sufficiently experienced cannot understand your transcendental activities because these persons are covered by your illusory energy. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Excuse me. Purport. God is one, but he expands himself in a variety of energies. The material energy, the spiritual energy, the marginal energy, and so forth. Unless one is favored and especially endowed with grace, he cannot understand how the one Supreme Personality of Godhead acts through his different energies. The living entities are also the marginal energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Brahma is also one of these living entities, but he is especially empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although Brahma is supposed to be the creator of this universe, actually, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is its ultimate creator. In this verse, the word Maya is significant. Maya means energy, and Brahma is not the energetic, but is one of the manifestations of the Lord's marginal energy. In other words, Lord Brahma is only an instrument. Although sometimes plans appear contradictory, there is a definite plan behind all action. Say that one again. Although sometimes plans appear contradictory, there is a definite plan behind all action. One who is experienced and is favored by the Lord can understand that everything is being done according to the Lord's supreme plan. Excuse me again. Om Ganatimirandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master is forcing me to open my eyes with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto his lotus feet. So we're continuing the story of Maharaj Prithu. And Maharaj Prithu is being described as becoming angry at the earth, Mother Earth. One who's experienced and is favored by the Lord. And Prabhupada says earlier in the same purport this morning, says, unless one is favored and especially endowed with grace, one cannot understand how the one Supreme Personality of Godhead acts through his different energies. So we have to become experienced and gain the favor of the Lord. So if you become experienced at something, the propensity tends to be to become puffed up. No, I'm experienced. I've been studying Srimad Bhagavatam for all of 5 years or 50 years or whatever few years in this small life that form that we have in the human form at this point. So we think to become experienced. But the kind of experience is not a material experience, but a spiritual experience. And if it's actually a spiritual experience, we will have a certain quality. And due to that quality, we'll become favored by the Lord. We're watching a small, what is it called? A clip or a segment. Srila Prabhupada speaking last night. It was very nice. Sometimes on YouTube, you can find these nice, I think it was called a clip. So sometimes someone's not done a whole class and recorded it, but they've managed to capture 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever it may have been of Srila Prabhupada speaking. So beautiful to see Srila Prabhupada speaking. One is to hear and seeing. So if you can do both, it's pretty nice. So Srila Prabhupada was explaining very wonderfully how he said if one is jealous or envious, he kept saying, he took the two words together constantly. He said it maybe a dozen times in this small segment. He said, if we are still jealous or envious, then we are in the material world. And if we are not jealous and envious, then we are in the spiritual world. And he said, give the example that if one is hungry and eats a sufficient amount of food, he feels satisfaction. He doesn't need to get a certificate from somewhere to say that he's satisfied. So in a similar way, he said, if we want to check whether we're in material consciousness, then you can qualify that also by saying to what degree we're in material consciousness. Hopefully there's a chance that we can gradually increase the spiritual consciousness, and that we understand to be the whole process of Krishna consciousness. It is a gradual process to gradually come out of the darkness of illusion and come to the light. And the Srimad Bhagavatam is the wonderful process of turning on the light. So we hear Bhagavatam, and I've mentioned this many times, that Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Nityam Bhagavata. We hear the Bhagavatam, and it should be Nityam always. Every moment of our life, practically, the Bhagavatam should be there, either speaking and discussing and hearing Bhagavatam, or thinking, pondering what we've heard in the Bhagavatam, what we've heard from the Bhagavata, the person Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada and the great acharyas that have made that transformation from the material. And this going to the spiritual world does not actually require us leaving the body. Srila Prabhupada in many purports explains like that. This consciousness is, if and when it's achieved, one is situated in the spiritual world, even while one is still within the material world. So as we just said, it's a gradual process to bring us to this. And this is why the Bhagavatam is explaining from so many angles of vision, all the pastimes, incarnations, manifestations of the Lord's energy, how the energies are working, what the different categories are, to help us to become experienced. I'm trying to think of a verse. Nunam pramata kurate vikarma. Pramata. To become experienced. Kim pramatasya bahubhir parokshai. Kim pramatasya bahubhir parokshai. Like that. Can't remember all the Sanskrit at the moment. What is the value of a prolonged duration of life, which is wasted, inexperienced by years in this world? So this is the Bhagavatam statement. What is the value of a prolonged duration of life? We all want to live, but what is the value of a prolonged duration of life, inexperienced by years, many years in this world. Better a moment's full consciousness, because that can give one a start in searching after one's supreme interest. So we're supposed to be becoming learned by our time in this world. Just like now here in Auckland, we know that there's all kinds of calamities, and at the moment there's the torrential rains and winds and all the rest of it. So that is our experience, and we pick it up. We hear from the Bhagavatam that Abrahmabu Vanaloka Purna Avartino Arjuna, from the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all the places of, you've heard it many times, misery, wherein repeated birth and death take place. So this is what's actually going on, and that's what we have to understand in our study of this world, our attempt to gain some experience. That is what we will see again and again and again, repeatedly. So this place is not able to give us what we so much desire, which is a permanent existence full of bliss and knowledge and understanding. That's what we want. And we're trying to gain it here in this world. But the Bhagavatam is pointing out there is always some calamity. If it's not this calamity, it's some other calamity. There is always some upheaval. Earthquakes, cyclones, hurricanes, birth, death, disease, old age. It goes on and on and on. But we don't see it. Pashyati, na pashyati. We see it, we experience it, but we can't get it. Why? Because we're not fully established in spiritual consciousness. And the tendency is very strong because we're embodied. We have a mind, we have senses, we have false ego. We're entrapped and encaged in all of this. And therefore, the strong tendency is to connect to the body and the mind, connect to the sense objects in attempts to satisfy our innate desire for happiness. So the good news is that there's a wonderful process called Krishna consciousness, which is a very gradual process. And how gradual it is up to us. That question is asked many times. How long does it take to become Krishna conscious? A moment. But then you have to continue. So that's our experience as aspiring devotees, is that we gain a little Krishna consciousness, and then we lose a little Krishna consciousness. The lights, we didn't keep the light switched on. You know, it's like a little time switch in a light. You can get the time switch, it goes on for so long, and then if you don't move around and you're not active, it goes off. Yeah. And then you have to move around again. So in a similar way, we have to move around in our Krishna consciousness. We have to keep it active, to keep the light on, to keep the light shining. Otherwise, we return to the darkness. Yeah. Pardon me. So in this wonderful story of Maharaj Prithu, we see so many nuances of living in this world. There's a great upheaval. The citizens in Maharaj Prithu's kingdom are complaining. How would we say? They're not happy to be complaining because they don't want to complain, but they're saying, actually, we're starving. We're not getting sufficient food and we may die. So Prithu Maharaj has got this dilemma. There's a problem. And it's very interesting that he studies it very carefully. I think I'm looking here at some notes I made earlier. See if we can find that one. See if we can find it. Yeah, in text 12 of this chapter. So that's 417:12. I'll just read that. If we can get a little nectar from that. Text 12. Text 12. Yeah. Let me just read the translation. After hearing this lamentation, this is from the citizens. I'll just read that too. Why not? Translation of 10 and 11. Dear King, just as a tree with a fire burning in the hollow of the trunk gradually dries up we are dying. Oh, sorry, we are drying, similar thing, drying up due to the fire of hunger in our stomachs. You are the protector of surrendered souls, and you have been appointed to give employment to us. Therefore, we have all come to you for protection. You are not only a king, but the incarnation of God as well. Indeed, you are the King of all kings. You can give us all kinds of occupational engagements. So they're not lazy. These citizens are not lazy. They don't just want a handout, so to speak. But you can give us occupational engagement. So they're proper citizens. They're ready to work according to their varna and their ashram, and to function in a God-conscious way, to take guidance from the king and shelter of the king, but to work also, because the king's not wanting a bunch of lazy people, because that's not the system. For you are the master of our livelihood. So that's the position again. Therefore, O King of all kings, please arrange to satisfy our hunger by the proper distribution of food grains. So they're asking for food grains. Please take care of us, lest we soon die for want of food. Pardon me. And then in text number 12, Maitreya speaks and he says, translation, after hearing the lamentation and seeing the pitiable condition of the citizens, King Prithu contemplated this matter for a long time to see if he could find out the underlying causes. And it really struck me, this verse. I thought, wow, so wonderful. King Prithu wasn't running around, what's the word? There's a word, rashly making decisions. But he contemplated this matter for a long time, because it wasn't a small matter. The earth had oh my goodness me, sorry, something moved. Please forgive me. It's all propped up here to get on here. And Hare Krishna. There's always some upheaval from big to small. That was a small one. Okay, yeah. Okay, see if we can get back to where we were at. So he contemplated this matter for a long time to find out the underlying causes. Yes, so why this was happening was a little challenging. So the king was challenged how to understand what is the underlying causes of what's going on. The earth is not producing and the citizens are starving, but they're working. The earth is still here. They're working very hard. Now, what's actually happening? Maybe are they becoming lazy, or is somebody cheating? What is the underlying cause? So he didn't rashly run around making decisions, but he thought about it for quite a while, let's say. Yeah. And then he made his decision. So that the king has to be decisive. He has to make a decision, but not rashly, but by contemplating, considering all the pros and cons, the ins and outs, the ups and downs of a challenge, and then he made a decision. Now we are in a similar way challenged like that in our lives in so many ways, but as devotees, we are challenged like that too. What should I do? How should I understand? Is this Krishna's arrangement? Is this not Krishna's arrangement? Is this just my mental speculation that I think I should change my service? I think I should take this new job. I should take a new trajectory in my life in this way or that way. How to understand what to do. So the king normally would consider these things and he would take counsel. The king also was not independent. He would be guided. He would take shelter and guidance from the Brahmanas. The Brahmanas are situated in transcendence. They're situated in Brahman, not in material energy, but spiritual energy. And they're not affected so much by all of this material comings and goings and profits and distinctions and so on. So they're very good to be able to give a very objective viewpoint on what's happening. So the king, his duty is to do like that. And in our position, it's advised, for example, if we have to make them, we have Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So we have Guru, and there are different gurus. There's the Diksha Guru and Shiksha Guru. You have different mentors that may be able to give us guidance, some senior people. So we don't just act anyway, don't worry. We just don't act on our own behalf, but we take guidance and we see what are my different gurus or singular gurus, whatever the case may be. What is, and again, it's coming to my mind, what does Srila Prabhupada say about this? So we come to Shastra, or we come to the videos, we come to the discourses, and we hear. Oh, so we might be lucky to hear something that has a very powerful impact on us. And we can read Shastra. Let me try to research, try to see where is, and we learn Shastra and we start to see on that story, this is explained in this story, another thing is explained, so we can gain from that. And Guru, Sadhus, and Shastra to understand before we act. So I thought that was a very relevant point that we should just look at. So going back, that was in text 12. He didn't act rashly, carefully considered situation from all angles of vision. Yeah. So there was a lot going on, isn't it? Mother Earth had assumed the form of a cow. She is a woman, and she is making the pleas to Prithu Maharaj that I am the Earth planet. I'm sustaining all life on this Earth planet. I'm the platform to support life, and I am a woman. And you know, my dear Lord, my dear King, that a woman is never to be mistreated. She's to be protected, like there are other children should always be protected. A woman should be protected. Cow should always be protected. Old men should be protected. Always be given shelter and care according to their situation in life. So all these things were Mother Earth was saying to Prithu Maharaj for his consideration. And after considering everything, he decided, you're not following my instruction, that I am the Supreme Lord, I am the King, and I have given instructions. And that was interesting. This was the first sinful thing. I think I wrote it somewhere. That's here. Yes, this is in text 22. I'll just, Maharaj Prithu advised the earth, you have disobeyed my orders. So after his contemplation earlier, he goes on to say that you disobeyed my orders. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says this was her first sinful act. So she was claiming that I'm sinless. I haven't committed any sin. So she was pretty intelligent. She's very intelligent. She's no small timer. She's Mother Earth, the whole Earth planet. So Prithu Maharaj replied to her and said, this is your first sinful act. You have disobeyed my orders. I'm not an ordinary person, if you don't mind. I'm the Supreme Personality of Godhead, incarnate to fulfill the desire of the Supreme Lord. I am an expansion of the Lord's energy in this way. And it is my duty to provide food for the citizens. And you are disobeying my order. My order was that you should release. You are taking your share of the yajna in the form of grasses, as in your form as a cow. You're accepting the grasses, but you're not producing sufficient food grains in return. So this is sinful. You cannot do that. Your duty is to provide if you're protected, and I'm providing protection. So he was really onto it. And so he said, this is, so this was the considerations that he had to think on very carefully. She's a woman, she's taking the form of a cow, she's actually Mother Earth, but the citizens are starving, etc. What to do? So he said, I will take my sharp arrows and I will kill you, and I will feed you to the citizens. I will cut you to pieces just like grains. And I'll make arrangements. And I will support the whole. Now, exactly how I will do how he would do it, but the earth planet's usually there for the living entities. But Prithu Maharaj says, I will support all the living entities by my potency. So this is the potencies. Parasha Shaktir Vividhaiva Shruyate. Krishna is explaining, the Bhagavatam is explaining that the Lord has multifarious energies. Jiva Goswami explains also in this connection in one of these verses that Jiva Goswami, the Lord's activities must be accepted as inconceivable. Unless we accept that, they cannot be explained. So that is in text number, where are we? And yeah, it's coming like that. But anyway, it's all part of this, just towards the end. So we have to first accept the inconceivable potencies. Therefore, unless the Lord has inconceivable potencies, we cannot explain how it's all possible. So we have to accept that he has inconceivable potencies. And we're thinking, I don't know if I can accept that. And then the question must be asked, so who are you? Who are you, little jiva soul? I don't know if I can accept that. Okay, I hear what you're saying, but what is your actual position to ponder like this? Oh, I with my, and in brackets, with my deep divine intelligence, or maybe not, with, I'll put in another set of brackets, with my limited sensual perception and intellectual capacity, which is very, very tiny. I don't even know how the hair in my head grows, how I don't hardly know anything about how I'm existing in this world. But we're saying, oh, I don't know if I can accept that God has that kind of potency. Okay. So we can surrender to our own very limited sensual perception, intellectual capacity, our pondering, our speculations, and take shelter of that and see how you go. Chances are we've been doing that for a long time. Or we can accept that the Lord has inconceivable potencies. And right at the end of this chapter, I can't help it, but I've got to grab that last little bit. It says, the best course is to surrender. Oh, hold on, see if I can go. Yeah, so going back to today's verse, I'll see if I can tie this in because it is all tied in. It says at the second part of the translation, it says, those who are not sufficiently experienced cannot understand your transcendental activities because these persons are covered by your illusory energy. And there's so many verses where Krishna said, I do not reveal myself to the foolish and unintelligent. For them, I am always covered by my internal potency, Yogamaya. And so the deluded world does not know me, cannot understand me, etc., etc. So many verses are there. So covered by your illusory energy, they're not experienced, they can't understand the potencies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be able to do nothing and everything according to his sweet will, from creation to maintenance and annihilation of everything in the cosmic manifestation. This is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, Prabhupada says, these instructions, he gives the example. Here we go. He gives the example. For our understanding, it is sometimes said that the Lord is situated in the heart of the thief as well as in the heart of the householder. But the supersoul in the heart of the thief dictates, go and steal things from that particular house, because that's the desire of that thief. So the Lord is fulfilling in different ways and sanctioning. If you must steal, okay, do it. There you go. Go over there. He directs like that. And at the same time, the Lord tells the householder, quote, now be careful of thieves and burglars. He just told the thief to go there and steal, and he's telling the household to be careful of thieves. And Prabhupada continues, these instructions to different persons appear contradictory, yet we should know that the Super Soul, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has some plan, and we should not consider such activities contradictory. Just like that famous verse in 10th canto, Lord Brahma, he says, Tatenu kampam susamikshamanam bunjana evatma kritam vapakam. Ridvagva purbir vidadham namaste jiveta yo mukti pade sadaya bhak. He says that a sober person, an earnest person, a person who sees the apparent reversals in life that we may experience to be the special mercy of the Lord, knowing that I should suffer not only this amount of reaction, but I should be suffering so much more, and continues. Now, this is like a contradiction again, but why would God cause suffering to his devotee? That doesn't make sense. That seems contradictory. Surrender and I'll protect you, I'll deliver you from all reactions, but then I'm getting all these reactions. So this is a contradiction. I can't do this. And we run away from devotional service. But if we can see that actually we're being instructed, the instructions appear contradictory, yet you should know that the Super Soul, the Supreme Personality of God, has some plan. And it's the plan for purification. There's a lesson to be learned in everything. If we can see that, especially when there's reversals, upheavals, challenges beyond our thinking capacity, our ability to understand, if we can see that there's a lesson to be learned here. And out of humility, I was going to say it right at the beginning of this little presentation, humility is such an important factor. It is absolutely essential. Trinada pisinichina taroriva sahishna amanina manadina kirtaniya sadari. Wow. And it ties into the jealousy that Prabhupada mentioned, that Srila Prabhupada said, and the envy. Wow. Humility. And to be humble, it's not an easy thing. We think, oh, I'm pretty humble. I'm humble. I'm trying to be humble. But it means that we should not be envious of anybody else. No, I'm not envious of anyone else, we think, until, do you like that person? Maybe not that much, but I don't like to say that because I'm humble. So this real humility, if we can actually, and it can be checked, and again, as Srila Prabhupada was explaining last night in that little clip, he's saying, you don't need to take a certificate from anyone. You can see, do I still harbor some envy, some jealousy of possessions, jealousy of abilities of others to do this or do that I cannot do or would like to do? So it's very strong. And it comes through false ego, which is another very tricky aspect to overcome, the false ego. Manushiksha is there to show that even in the course of, very much in the course of devotional service, we go for something that we think is pure Krishna consciousness, but we later, maybe after some time, see maybe I was attached to some result, some profit, some adoration, some distinctions, some recognition, and it goes on and on and on. And the great Goswamis have not written these books. I'm trying to remember the six Goswamis. Raghunath Das Goswami, I think, is the author of that book. He didn't write it to get published, by the way. He didn't write it to become famous as a writer, but he wrote it for the benefit of the pure bhaktas that want to understand how to go beyond this false ego and all kinds of ways of being trapped in this material world. So the humility then is it can be connected to what Prabhupada said. The humility when we see, am I jealous? Prabhupada said it's interesting, the different accents. Prabhupada said things, and it's interesting. There's another word I've just just a little side point, Prabhupada would say tortoise, a tortoise. And that's the way Scottish people say tortoise. So I don't know in New Zealand, but I think it's tortoise. It's in Australia, the accent is tortoise. But in Scotland, we learned, as I am Scottish, as you might have guessed, we would always say tortoise. It's a tortoise. And Srila Prabhupada would say tortoise. Why? Because he went to Scottish Churches College, and many of his teachers were Scotsmen. And so it's just a little side point to say. So so this jealous, he says that also in a lovely little accent. It's very beautiful. It doesn't have to be Scottish or whatever, but anyway, it was just nice. Jealous, envy. So if we can gain the actual humility, and that's what we pray, and the only way to gain this is to pray that Krishna, I'm trying really best as I can, but I'm not really good at it. I've been doing this for a long time. Doing this for a long time, and it's like little cycles. You go in a cycle, but then it goes and it comes round again and round again until we get it. Krishna keeps, you think, oh, I'm doing really well, and then maybe you run into a difficulty, a brick wall, so to speak, in your devotional life. The honor turns to dishonor, the happiness turns to distress, and we're challenged. But that is the course of life, to become equipoised in all of these different situations, and to remain and to see that the best course is to actually try again, to say to Krishna, I know I'm not humble. I keep trying, but I keep falling from that platform of real humility. Please, my dear Lord, you please help me, because I can't do it on my own. And this is exemplified by great souls like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who was praying like that. He said, I've tried in so many ways to control my mind and senses, but actually I have to, you have to do it. And he prays like that. That cannot be imitated, He prays like that. I can't do this, but you can, my Lord. So please, I'm beseeching you, you sit down in my heart and I will be your servant. You do everything. So the only way we can attain this quality, the quality of real humility, which is the essence of devotional service, is to surrender to Krishna and beg for his mercy so that we can become favored. Isn't it? We were talking in the verse that we're dealing with today. It says that one who is experienced and is favored by the Lord can understand that everything is being done according to the Lord's supreme plan. So the Lord has his plan for all of us. This is the inconceivable potency of the Lord. He is able to be with us at every moment and to reciprocate. Krishna says, Ye yatamam prapadyante tam tataiva bhajamyaham. All of them, as they surrender unto me, I reward accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects. So according to our approach to the Lord will reveal everything that is required for us to continue on the path of devotional service. And that will be the special favor of the Lord. And that is the only desire of the devotee. We hear Prahlad Maharaj being cited as the great example. When Lord Nrsingadev said, my dear boy, please, my dear Bhakta, please accept some benediction. And Prahlad Maharaj was very much reluctant to accept anything. He didn't want anything. He said, I'm not here to have a business arrangement. And he said, the only thing I'm afraid of, he said, everyone is afraid of you, my Lord. You've appeared in this amazing form, half man, half lion incarnation as Lord Narasingha. and everyone is afraid, so much so that no one could pacify your anger, your manifestation of your outrage for the maltreatment of your pure devotees. So everyone is afraid, but I am not afraid of you, my Lord. But what I am afraid of is this material energy of yours, because it is so powerful. So if I can have any benediction, I pray for that I may not fall under the crushing, grinding stone of the material external energy, which has the power to destroy everything. And only you, my Lord, have the ability to give that benediction. But it will not be given. Krishna doesn't give pure, unalloyed devotional service. Until it is actually appropriate to give. Because the Lord is purchased, we hear from teachings of Bhagavatam and the Acharyas that the Lord is purchased. So if the Lord only wants to be, is purchased and controlled by his pure devotees. So pure devotional service is actually very rare, and given as the ultimate benediction of the Lord when he feels that actually he can trust this devotee. So where's the time factor? Okay, so I think we spoke. Maybe instead of, there's maybe one or two other points, but let's see if we have any reflections. I think I mentioned that last time. So if we give a few minutes for anyone that's watching, what do you call it, live? If you have any points that we've presented here, either in the verses that we've connected to today's verse and the purport of today, or anything else that I've mentioned that maybe stuck in your mind, something that you'd like to just repeat, whatever it may have been, something Srila Prabhupada's presentations, and we can just see if we can get your comments on that. So I'll pause for a minute or so, and if there's anyone would like to, you please just do whatever you need to do. I'm not sure how you do it. We'll just see if we can hear a reflection. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. This is Vishnu Padi here. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Oh, Hare Bol Mataji. Did you get all? Did you manage to finish with the program and tidied up and back into normality after having so many devotees at your program the other night?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you so much for coming that day. We felt so blessed with your presence. So thank you so much to you and Vimla Mataji as well.
Yeah, we were so happy to be there.
Yes, Prabhu, thank you so much. Prabhuji, I liked the point which you mentioned about that we often say that, who is God, what should I know? Why should I know? Yeah, and we always question that. So I like the point when what you said was that who are you actually? You're just a tiny speck. So we often have this people coming and asking that who is God? Why God? And then with their own mental speculation, they always think that they are greater. And so God should come in front of them. So very nicely you put it forward that who are you actually? You are nothing. So it was really nice.
It's quite amazing. It's a good point what you're saying, because we're so puffed up. I remember just something comes to my mind on that, a little reflection there, that when you're gardening, often you lift a rock or and sometimes there's lots of little beetles, maybe 10 or 100 or whatever under a log or something, and they've got their whole life going on there. And they've got, there's mom and dad beetle and there's the baby beetles and whatever they are, and they've got everything going on. And they've got a whole world there, and they think that's life under that rock or wherever, or a piece of timber or whatever it may be under. So in a similar way, here we are. We're in New Zealand, which is part of whatever, it's part of this world, and we go out and we see that the whole planet is just a speck of dust floating in this universe. And so we're hanging on somehow or other. Krishna's energies are wonderful. We can be hanging on this little speck of dust called the Earth planet, and it doesn't appear that that's what we're doing. It appears that we're just this is life. This is it. But we, as you said, we're just so tiny. It's and here we are speculating about, can I accept these concepts of God and so on. And we've, forgive me, I'll stop in a second. But just and we have always that choice. Do we listen to the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he speaks in the Shastra? Do we listen to the great acharyas and mold our life to become like them? Or if we don't accept that path, we have the path of being a little beetle and carrying on, just moving around until we die in this world. And yeah, it's
Yes,
so ridiculous. Thanks for sharing that little reflection, huh? Krishna. Do you have any other points, Vishnupari Mataji?
No, the same thing, Prabhuji, like, as we know that all the planets are coming from the pores of Mahavishnu. So all these planets are like the mustard seeds.
No,
and
not planets, universes.
The universes, yes, right. The universes are coming like the mustard seeds. And in those universes, there are so many planets. And in those planetary system also, there is this planet called as Earth. And on that Earth also, the Jivas, we are one particle in that planet called as Earth. So what is our existence in that tiny mustard seed of that universe, and then of that planet, and then again of that we. So if we take to that extent, then we know that we are nothing actually. We don't exist. If you look at that whole spectrum, wider spectrum, then we think that what is the how do we feel that we are great, or we have done this and we are the doer, and everything which we do, we take the credit of everything. So if we think that way, so we know that we are nothing actually. We don't belong. We are not even a mustard seed. So what to talk about all these things?
Yeah, so nicely explained. I like it. It brings it home more and more. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. And then the wonderful continuation from that, Mataji, would be, okay, it's so important to get exactly what you explained and to realize we practically don't exist. Nothing. We're just insignificant. You get that. Then the next one would be, somebody could say, oh, wow, that's a bit sort of depressing. I'm nothing. So then the good news that we gain from Krishna is that when we place ourselves back in our natural environment of service to Krishna, connection to the Supreme and all the living entities, we actually become significant. With that little tiny jiva soul is actually as brilliant as many millions of suns in our actual identity as a part and parcel of the Supreme. So it's great. It's so inspiring. We're not just nothing. We're nothing really in the material world. We're just nothing. And sorry, connecting it, I was down at the land that we have down there the other day, and we went in for a swim. And it reminded me of the example. In ISKCON, we had this example of, we used to call it blooping. So that blooping was when someone left devotional service, we used to say, oh, they blooped. Now, I don't know if you know this or anybody else knows this idea, but blooping. And the example is when you get a stone. Now, we were doing this down at the river, at the property. So if you get a stone, especially a nice smallish and sort of roundish It doesn't have to be perfectly round. And you throw it high up in the air and let it come vertically down. It goes into the water and it goes bloop. It just makes a bloop. And what we tend to want to do when we leave, say, devotional service, we think, I'll reappear in the material world. We'll make a big splash. Here I am. I'm back in the material world. I'm going to enjoy in this way and that way and this. And we think we're going to make a big splash, but actually, all that happens is that little insignificant stone, bloop, it just goes back into the material ocean. And as you said, it's virtually nothing. So that blooping, we get so carried away, we think we're going to make a big splash, but you don't. You're so small.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhuji. And yes, we are nothing, but if we are connected to devotional service, then we become big in front of Krishna, because in the sense that we are connected to him. In that way, if you look, then yes, that way we can become significant. Otherwise, if we are not connected to Krishna by devotional service, then we are zero. We are nothing.
And then, as you just said, so if you get a connection, we become significant, and immediately we become puffed up.
Yes.
That's why there's the Manushiksha to teach us, don't become puffed up because you can cook nicely, or you can do kirtan, or you can dress deities, you're good at this, or you're a good person, and whatever the thing is we get puffed up by. But if we get some ability by the mercy of the Lord, then if we can actually access that real great element called real humility, that actually any ability is the Lord's. And we see that in the great examples of the great devotees of the Lord. They're not thinking themselves. They're not interested in, Anyway, you know all these things, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
No, Prabhuji, it is just that the puffed up because of the false ego. We still are having that false ego, even if we are doing the devotional service. So it is very difficult to shed off that false ego. And because of that, we are there in this material world, actually.
Absolutely. So then we have to just get on our knees and beg Krishna, Krishna, I'm trying to do devotional service. Every time I do something devotional service, I get puffed up. So please, you do whatever it is, cut me down, roll me over, throw me off a cliff, do whatever you have to do with me to get this real actual humility, because that is devotional service, and everything else is pretty much false ego. Huh?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
It's the beginning, Mataji. At least we know what the enemy is now. It's ourselves and our false ego.
Yes,
we can't blame anybody else.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. Okay, so I pause for a few seconds, and then I think we should finish, because yes, we've been in our
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Dandavad Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much for your wonderful class and wonderful realizations and experience, which came out very nicely when you explained this verse to us, especially all your wide experience and realizations from life. That was wonderful. And
I'm very happy to hear that. Now I'm really puffed up.
Well, I especially like that example of the cycle, what you mentioned, the wheel, where we keep alternating between material consciousness and spiritual consciousness. We said we keep going round and round. Sometimes we spiritual, and sometimes we descend into material consciousness all the time. So I just wanted to understand or know from you. You said that the main cause there is envy, as you said, envy or jealousy, which gets us down from spiritual to material consciousness. That is the main reason you said. So any indicators I can watch out for? Any indicators I can watch out for this envy creeping up or jealousy creeping up? Any indicators or any signs I should be watching out for, like constantly, which otherwise I'm getting overwhelmed. Yeah.
Yes. It's usually we can't. There's an old saying, I think I'm trying to remember the saying, you can't see the forest for the trees. something like that. So basically, it's right in front. It's right in front of you. It's like putting your hand in front of your face. It's so obvious that we can't see it. We're so busy looking beyond. So you're saying, is there any indicators? Just have a look. Just look. If it's right in front of your face, how I don't like this person, how I think I'm a bit better than that person. Bhaktivigyan Maharaj gave a nice lecture about this a few months ago. I was watching, and he was trying to help us to see, as you're asking nicely the question, trying to see where is this sitting? How am I being affected by this propensity? And so he was saying that you have a conversation. Here's one way you could see it. There's millions, there's millions of ways, but one was he was explaining was that you have a conversation with, just like we're having a conversation now, right? So we're having a conversation, and then if I'm thinking, well, I'm actually a little more advanced than the person who's asking the question. And that means I'm a little better. They're pretty good. They're pretty nice. But I'm actually better. That's how you see it. And if you go into, just for example, next time you go into conversation with someone, then think of it in that way and see the tendency to, I listened to what they said, and then I said what I had to say. And you might find that you think you're just a little bit better. They're pretty cool, they're pretty good, but actually, if you had to choose, I'd most likely choose that I was a little more intelligent, a little more Krishna conscious, a little more whatever the heck it is. So this is how you can get an idea.
That's wonderful, bro. That's a wonderful way of seeing it. No. Thank you so much. Thank you for the tips.
It's all pervading. And again, what can you do? We're surrounded by this kind of false ego and falsity. And all we can do is keep trying. And when Krishna sees our endeavor, again and again and again, we keep trying to go back and gain the reality, the real humility, etc., then he will favor us and he'll bestow his grace upon us. Wouldn't that be nice? Wow. That's a nice prayer to have, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Krishna, thank you.
Thank you. No, very nice. That's very good insight. No, thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there's anybody. It's tricky because I can't see anything to indicate if anyone else is there. I don't want to drag this on, but I don't want to cut someone off. So, I wish maybe Mataji can explain it to me sometime if there's any way I can see if anybody else is waiting to say something. Because if we knew there was 2 or 3 other people, we could shorten what I'm saying and let them speak. Anyway, it's a learning process, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm going to finish. Okay. We'll finish at that point. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada
Ki Jai.
Jai.
Kalpataruभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यो एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंतकोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। His grace Chaitanya Prabhu ki jai. All glories to assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.
Jai.